Greenland looks bigger than Africa on every map you've ever seen. Look closer and you'll find it on globes, textbooks, the wallpaper of half the classrooms on Earth. Africa is actually 14 times larger, not slightly bigger, 14 times. You could fit the United States, China, India, Japan, and most of Europe inside Africa's outline and still have room left over. And yet, on the map in your head, Africa looks like a medium-sized landmass squeezed below a continent that could swallow it whole. Every map in your house, your classroom, your phone right now is lying to you, and it's not an accident. To understand why, you have to go back to 1569 to a map maker named Gerardus Mercator, working out of Flanders. Mercator wasn't trying to deceive anyone. He was trying to solve a very specific, very practical problem. Sailors navigating the open ocean needed a way to draw a straight line on a map and have that line actually correspond to a straight line on a compass. Sounds simple. It is not. The Earth is a sphere, and there is no way to flatten a sphere onto a piece of paper without distorting something. Think of it like peeling an orange and trying to lay the peel flat on a table. It will tear, stretch, or gap, no matter how carefully you do it. You can preserve shape, or you can preserve size, but you cannot preserve both. Mercator chose shape and direction. His projection let sailors plot a straight course across an ocean and trust that the angle on the page matched the angle on their compass. For shipping routes, it was a genuine breakthrough, arguably one of the most useful inventions in the history of navigation. The problem is what happens to size as you move away from the equator. On a Mercator map, land masses near the poles get stretched, and the further you go, the worse it gets. Greenland, which sits up near the Arctic, gets inflated to roughly the size of Africa. In reality, Greenland could fit inside Africa 14 times over. Alaska looks bigger than Mexico. It's smaller. Russia looks like it covers a third of the planet's landmass. It's big, but nowhere near that big. Scandinavia looks roughly the same size as India. India is about 3 times larger. Here's the part that should actually bother you. Mercator built this projection for sailors in the 1500s, for one job, plotting compass courses across open water. Almost nobody navigates by paper map anymore. Ships, planes, your phone, all of them use GPS now. The original problem Mercator solved barely exists. And yet, this exact projection, designed 5 centuries ago for an extremely narrow technical purpose, is still the default map most of the world grew up looking at. Why would a tool built for 16th century sailing routes still be shaping how billions of people picture the planet today? The answer has less to do with cartography and more to do with power. Throughout the colonial era, the countries doing the most map making happened to be the countries near the top of the Mercator projection: Europe, North America. And under this projection, those regions appear dramatically larger than they actually are, while the countries near the equator, much of Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia get visually shrunk. This wasn't a conspiracy with a single mastermind sitting in a room somewhere. Nobody decided, let's make Europe look bigger so people take us more seriously. But once that map became the default, printed in atlases, hung in government offices, taught in schools across the colonized world, it quietly did something to how people perceived global power, all on its own, generation after generation. In 1973, a German historian named Arno Peters tried to fix this. He proposed an alternative, a projection that preserved the actual relative size of every landmass, even if it meant sacrificing shape. Under his map, Africa looks the way it actually is: enormous, dominating the center of the globe. South America stretches long and substantial. Europe shrinks down to its true, comparatively modest size. The Peters projection caused an uproar. Professional cartographers hated it on technical grounds. The shapes get distorted in their own way, countries look stretched and oddly elongated. But international aid organizations, the United Nations, and education groups loved it, because for the first time, people looking at a map could see the developing world the way it actually exists. Vast, populous, central, not a footnote squeezed along the bottom edge of a Eurocentric world. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. Researchers have actually studied how the map you grow up looking at shapes your sense of which countries matter. In studies on map perception, people shown a Mercator-style map consistently rank countries near the top, the ones that look bigger, as more important, more developed, more central to world events. People shown a more accurate equal area projection rank equatorial countries higher on the exact same measures, using the exact same questions. The only thing that changed was the shape of the lines on the page. The map isn't just describing the world, it's quietly telling you which parts of it count and which parts are background. And almost nobody making that judgment realizes a 450-year-old navigation tool, built to help sailors avoid running into rocks, is the thing doing the telling. So what do you do with a map that's wrong but useful for one specific job and a more accurate map that's awkward to use for almost everything else? In 1989, several major American geographic organizations, including the National Council for Geographic Education, the American Cartographic Association, and the Association of American Geographers, issued a joint statement actually recommending that schools stop hanging Mercator maps on classroom walls altogether. Not because the projection was useless, it's still excellent for navigation and for reading angles and directions, but because using it as the default mental model of the entire planet was, in their words, doing measurable harm to how people understood the relative size, population, and importance of countries near the equator. Most classrooms never got the memo. Walk into a school today and there is a good chance the Mercator projection is still the map most people picture when they close their eyes and think of Earth. And this is where it stops being about geography entirely. If the shape of the world in your head has been quietly wrong your whole life, shaped by a tool built for a problem that barely applies to anyone anymore, what else is being shown to you through a lens built for a completely different purpose than the one you're using it for? Systems get built to solve one narrow problem for one group of people at one moment in history. Then the original problem fades away, but the system stays, because nobody questions the thing that's always just been there. What other defaults are you trusting simply because they're the ones you happen to grow up with? Never built to be true, only built to be useful for someone else, at some other point in history, for some other reason entirely, and never updated since. Look at a map again sometime soon. Notice Greenland. Notice Africa. Hold both of those facts in your head at once, the size you see, and the size that's actually there. That gap between what you were shown and what's actually real didn't appear by accident, and it's been sitting there the entire time, in plain sight, on every wall, in every book, on every screen, quietly shaping how an entire species pictures the only planet it has, waiting for someone to mention it.